This podcast is brought to you by eBizRetail, the place to go if you want to know about the world of business and the business of the world. For daily podcast and article uploads, go to eBizRetail.com or follow us on Twitter at eBizRadioGlobal. My name is Nick Snow, and joining me for a long overdue edition of Retail Biz is the one and only Craig Page. Lee, Craig, thanks for making the time to chat to me. Of course, mid-year review time, very, very busy for Retail South Africa, and that's pretty much what we're going to be chatting about today, the state of retail. I think it's going to be nice to get a halfway mark. How are we doing, and what do we need to do in the next 6 months, of course, to pick things up? Of course, lots of data you have to support our conversation today, which we'll outline. But once again, welcome back to the show, and how are things going?
Oh, Nick, thanks. Yeah, all well. Busy this end. Obviously chasing numbers. In absolute honesty, the market is flat and declined, and it's really tough out there. A lot of the big brands are not spending the way we'd like them to be spending. We're seeing some interesting cycles at a global client level as well. The global clients that have obviously got very small representation of total market in South Africa are really under a lot of scrutiny and are being mandated to from international head offices. And at any one time, we're really only getting to sort of see 3 months of the expected budget releases into the South African market. And it's really difficult for those retailers to make the impact that they hope to make, and also really difficult for agencies to bring the innovation and drive the value into the market for them when you're constrained by that. If you don't have a long-term view, it's really, really tough to see where you can make a difference for brands. So, yeah, tough place to be at the moment, and obviously that also impacts on the half-year numbers that any agency group that belongs, or agency business that belongs to an international group has to report on at this particular time. So, all in all, the state of retail and the agency world is rather tough. But an appropriate step that I came across, quite an interesting report last week. It's an American report, but it's just got some really simple and quite often obvious statements which we've sort of picked up in the past. But the way they package it and put it together just really clearly outlines some of the key things that retailers need to do moving forward. And one or two of those are actually quite opposite to what we've expected, and it was rather refreshing to see. Okay. So the report that I came across, Nick, is called The State of Retail 2015, and it's by an organization called Time Trade. Interesting business. I went and did a bit of research on them, and they got some really, really wonderful platforms, responsive consumer engagement platforms that they're well known by. They're based in the USA, Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and they're headed up by quite a successful individual, in fact by a really great board, but Gary Ambrosino, who is the CEO, definitely a successful entrepreneur and innovator who's experienced two major buyouts of businesses he's either started or led in his career, one by Cisco and one by Google. So he comes with a load of experience and lots of credibility in the space of retail systems, technology, and platforms. So it was a good read for me.
So, yeah, what are some of the highlights, some of the outlines? How are we versed last year to this year? Have we improved? Obviously, in this country, things are going a little bit south. But, globally, how are people spending their money? Is there an increase? Are there new trends?
There actually is an increase in the USA. The United States economy has come out of a bad space, and we've seen some good retail factors coming to bear. And I'm sure, obviously, because of that, some of the sentiment that came out when this report was created was already moving into the positive space, and there's therefore some really interesting statistics. But I think the one that really jumps out the most for me is that, obviously, retail stores are still relevant, but 87% of the respondents that participated in this particular survey plan to shop in stores at least as often or more as they did in 2014. And the reason I'm saying that this jumps out is that for a long time, everybody, we've spoken about the Roper research online purchase offline versus the showroom, and going into the physical bricks and mortar and then actually doing your purchase online and seeing whether the sort of the challenge between those are, and the fact that the huge penetration of mobile handsets and tablets is where people would be doing all their purchase. Actually, it's not. The purchase still happens in the bricks and mortar environment. And consumers prefer to shop in store. It says here that more than 65% of the survey respondents reported that if an item that they want is available online or in a nearby store, they would prefer to go to the store to purchase it. And again, it's just showing that there's a prevalence which goes straight into the next point, and it's the one that I really like, is that drivers for shopping in store, there's an overwhelming majority of consumers, in excess of 85%, who still like to shop in store because of the tangibility, the tactile.
Just going to say, yes, that tangibility. So important.
So they want to touch and feel the products before deciding what to buy. However, there's a caveat and a sort of a precursor to that, because this is where we jump back and really leverage off the online search aspect. These are shoppers that have done the online search, and they're coming into the store having done an elimination process where coming into store there's 2 or 3 options. There's not 15 or 20 options anymore. They've done their online search. They've got to understand the attributes of the products they're looking for, whether it's 2 or 3 options in the same category or 2 or 3 options of what they want their basket to be at that particular point. They have actually done some online research and arrived in store. Following on from that, though, once in store, they're definitely willing to spend. Nearly 60% of consumers prefer to shop in store, even when they're spending as little as $50 in the USA. And 82% of all consumers surveyed said they'll buy more than they originally planned to do. So that is on the back of confidence of understanding the market is turning. Retail confidence is definitely at a higher place than it was a few years ago. And the fact that they're saying that they all intend spending more than they, at least will spend more than they intended to do is a good sign for their market. Again, some interesting stats here. So we know that mobile shopping is growing, but it's going to slow down. And there were some wonderful statistics that I picked up on the percentage differences of the contribution to the overall disposable income between online and offline, and this was quite amazing for me. So sitting in 2014, online purchasing was sitting around $200 billion. The anticipation of growth over the next 6 or 7 years, 6 years going into 2020, is that will grow from $200 billion to $550 billion in the US. That's a huge jump. It's in excess of 175% growth for online. However, in 2014, whilst the online value was sitting at $200 billion, the in-store purchase value was sitting at $4.05 trillion. Now, you would think that at that level, with online's growth in excess of 175%, you wouldn't see a huge percentage growth in the in-store purchase because everybody's migrating to digital. Well, no, there was still a 21% growth in anticipation that the in-store shopper basket total spend is going to grow to 4.9 trillion rand. And at 2020, the online still represents only 11.2% of total sales. So, there's a long way to go before online surpasses even the 50% of the in-store. And all of this obviously supports the factors that we've just spoken about, yes, where we're seeing that the retail store absolutely still has relevance, and the respondents are most definitely looking to continue in those environments.
So what people are essentially trying to do now is say, well, we need to have the online mobile, store experience. So we need people to go find the information, keep them within the brand, and then because we know they're going to go buy it in the store, we need them to come to our store. So it seems as though the trend here is to have that online platform. And yes, you could buy it online, but let's make sure we give you enough information that you get it where you need it from so that you come buy it from us.
Yes. So if you look at the mobile in particular in response to that very point you raised, so, 50% are using mobile to research products. 60% are using them to do price comparison, and 46% of the respondents were looking at them from a store location point of view. However, when you're going to the search aspect, okay, once they're coming into store, they're absolutely converting. So you've got a much higher percentage of conversion once they're in store. But this is where the importance of in-store shopper assistance, in-store relationship management, and all of those other aspects come to play, because consumers want help. They want the assistant to be knowledgeable. So, and in many of these American stores, they're actually calling them in-store associates. So when the consumer has done their research, or the shopper has done their research, and they arrive at the store, they want to be treated in a very different way. They want information to be made available in a very different way to how they were obtaining it on their smartphones and things like that. So there's a much higher expectation moving forward to have these knowledgeable in-store associates and to ensure that every single one of these associates contributes to an enhanced in-store experience. And through the enhanced in-store experience, we're obviously going to see a migration to a higher level of purchase conversion. Okay, so consumers are seeking associates with expertise. In excess of 50% reported that what they value most in sales associates while shopping is smart recommendations. So, like Apple, and there was a wonderful reference to Apple organization here in the Genius Bar as well, which you know very well, is that the nature of understanding what the challenge, need, or problem is that a consumer has is for the associate to be able to recommend a broad spectrum of options, right, that then lead you down to a bespoke solution which is best for that particular consumer at that point in time. And in doing so, it also goes to the point of understanding that consumers are fundamentally different. The demographics of consumers these days, understanding what millennials are looking for versus baby boomers, is a fundamental difference to what they're looking for, but also a fundamental difference on how they're finding the initial information to come into that environment. And are retailers and the associates able to be fluid and adaptable to understand the needs of the respective individuals coming in, to be able to decipher demographics of those individuals in store. And then once you've understood that, to be able to offer the product portfolio service requirements to those individuals and guide them through the in-store shopper experience, leading to the conversion down the line. So demographics and understanding the makeup of the consumer is definitely a big requirement moving forward. And these in-store associates are essential. And I think that we know in this country we don't have anywhere near the level of that sophistication of understanding a demographic, of understanding a product need, of an understanding of desirability in the store, nor do we have the knowledge and the technical support to provide the information that the shopper is looking for when coming into store. We also don't necessarily have the amazing technology that Time Trade developed, where you could actually go online and start booking personalized shopping experiences with these shopper assistant associates. You've done your research, you click online, you enter the store that you're wanting to visit, you book a particular associate at a particular time, and you have your shopping basket list. And when you arrive, you're welcomed. There's an absolute understanding of who you are, what your need is for that particular shopping experience, and you guide it through the process, and the value that's offered around best product, best value, best product to suit your need, et cetera, is where this whole journey is going. And the retailers overseas are fundamentally understanding this and are gearing up to position their businesses to bring this level of personalization, mass customized personalization through technology, to ensure that they're understanding the needs and relevance of the consumers, and they're adopting and adapting their stores to address that.
I think that's brilliant, because they're clearly identifying the uniquely changing retail environment. As we said,
Yes.
And as we've discussed before, there were a lot of people losing out on sales in store because of mobile, or I can buy it cheaper somewhere else, or why don't you have it in stock?
Yes.
And this is clearly a reaction to that. And now they're starting to merge the two. So they're saying, if you want to buy it online, that's cool, that's great, that's fine. If you're comfortable enough to go that route, fantastic. But if you still want that tangible experience, we don't have salespeople, we don't have just randoms in here to help you buy that TV by explaining the technical details. We're saying, come down and speak to a professional assistant who will help you with your particular purchase if you do need that extra information that the internet is just not providing, or that hands-on tangible, I want to see it in front of me, which is great.
Correct. So, to that point, some of the critical factors there is that, the predominance is through the digital first touch. But while you're in the digital first touch mode, what is the retailer doing in that online environment to entice you and engage you to come into the bricks and mortar environment? Once you're coming into the bricks and mortar environment, the key factor there is superior customer service and the personalization. It's having associates and assistants in the store that absolutely know the customer. They anticipate what the customer's needs and wants are. And as I said, understanding demographics and consumer behavior really goes to answer a lot of that. And then it's being available to give them the appropriate help and not just point you in the direction and it's down that particular alley. So it's understanding all of those factors and what the spending habits and needs are, and how do you build in that experience that then drives them through the feel and touch process as well, and helps them make their final purchase decision. But starting at that digital first touch, you've got to be able to hook them in there and give them some value as to why they need to be coming in to the particular store. The fact that there's such a high percentage, 87%, that want to be in the store is really great. And what was quite interesting about the article as well is seeing the likes of Amazon actually been dabbling in the space of creating bricks and mortar environments as well.
Like post boxes.
Yes. So Amazon opened up a pick up and drop off store within one of the universities in Lafayette, Indiana. They aim to extend this to other universities, and that really focuses specifically around the needs of students, technology, products, books, and all of those things. They've in the past, as you said, placed lockers in stores across USA. So understanding your journey to and from work, what is your shopping repertoire, what are the stores you go to, that's where the drop box is. You get your code, your pass, you use your credit card, swipe, the locker opens and you take your product with you. They even had a stab at looking and expressing interest in purchasing the entire Radio Shack store network after the brand was reportedly going into liquidation, filing for bankruptcy. My understanding is that hasn't happened. However, they did focus on a New York High Street bricks and mortar environment, and I think Los Angeles is on the radar for a bricks and mortar store as well. So even the pure online retailers are defaulting back to the cost to providing the bricks and mortar, and I think the cost of delivery in the online space is rising at a rapid rate, and they're actually seeing some value to the aggregation of centralized distribution points, and that could be that high street store where consumers can come in and engage in other products as well, and actually then do the online purchase from in that environment.
So finally, Craig, as we bring this to an end, what is the state of retail, particularly in South Africa and Africa, for the next 6 months? What are we going to be looking out for as we crawl up towards that Christmas season? Are we going to be seeing different ways of products being marketed to us?
I hope we see different ways of products being marketed to us. We're going to have different ways products being marketed to demographics. That's a given. Price drives that, value drives that, the consumer needs drive that. Peri-urban, rural to suburban environments to epicenters and CBDs like Sandton and the V&A waterfront. The location, the spend basket size, the demographic definitions are all influencing that. What we need to see is that in the tough, challenging environment that we still operate in South Africa, and it's getting more and more tough for us, particularly with the likes of Eskom wanting to push the balance of the 25% increase on electricity tariff up is really going to hurt the consumer in the pocket. It's for retailers to continue delivering value, whilst delivering value, whether it's around the likes of the Pick and Pay price match proposition. The value needs to be value to the pocket as well as value to the experience of the brand engagement, and also value to the in-store experience. And again, whether you're having a spaza shop experience or whether you're walking into your high-end boutique store in V&A, every single one of those retailers has to be present to ensure that the consumer's journey is fulfilled to 100% of expectation, and that there is somebody there to guide them through the process. And if there's a need, that individual is well armed with information that can make a difference, a positive difference to that consumer, lead them to the point of the information they need, to the point of consumption. And if that point of consumption doesn't happen in that environment, be brave enough to lead them to the point where consumption can happen, that have a successful, happy customer, because that customer will come back to you, that shopper. If you don't have the product that serves their need, but you're able to give them real relevant advice and lead them to the point where they get it, I can tell you right now that the value of that experience is going to be so impactful that they're going to come back for the other pieces that they need that you do have. So be relevant, continue adding value, be mindful of the fact that we're operating in an incredibly tough environment at the moment economically, have the information there with people who know what the hell they're doing, because there's so many who don't.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. I definitely think some sound advice for retailers, of course, always to go and do their research, see how things are changing all over the world, and figure out how you can then apply it. And on that note, it brings us to the end of this edition of eBizRetail. Craig, thank you very much for taking the time and chatting to me once again on eBiz Radio.
Fantastic. Look forward to the next chat, Nick.